When you're thinking about swapping out an old tank for a tankless system, the first thing that creeps in is the fear of getting a unit that sounds great on paper but ends up being a mismatch for your home's real-world demands. I've spent the last few weeks digging into how a high-output propane tankless heater actually behaves once it's mounted, wired, and put through a typical family's morning routine. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. My goal here isn't to sell you a dream. It's to help you decide whether the Takagi TK340X3 PIH lives up to the promise of ultra-low NOx and high efficiency when you're the one turning the tap. First, let's talk about the kind of household that usually reaches for a 180,000 BTU propane unit. You need a decent amount of hot water at once. Think 3 or 4 showers back-to-back, a dishwasher running, and maybe a bathtub filling while the kids are getting ready for school. If your home only ever needs a single shower at a time, a smaller 130,000 BTU model will probably cover you and cost less upfront. The TK340X3 PIH, on the other hand, is built for those multi-point scenarios. It's a condensing design, which means it extracts more heat from the exhaust gases and reduces the nitrogen oxide emissions that have become a real concern for indoor installations. That's why the unit is classified for indoor use only if you have proper venting and a propane line that can handle the flow. Installation is the first practical hurdle. The heater arrives in a fairly compact steel cabinet, but you still need a certified plumber and a qualified gas technician to hook it up. The venting system must be stainless steel, 3-inch diameter, and run a minimum of 3 feet horizontally before it can turn upward to exit the building. In my research, I found a few installers mentioning that the pipe length requirements add about $300 to $500 in labor, which is something you should factor into the total cost. If you're a DI enthusiast with the right permits, you can save a bit, but you'll be dealing with gas pressure adjustments and a high-temperature exhaust mistakes that can be costly, both financially and safety-wise. Once it's up and running, the real test is how the heater handles everyday demand. The condensing part isn't just a buzzword. It actually translates into a measurable difference in fuel consumption. In a typical 500 square foot home with a family of 4, the TK340X3 PIH used roughly 8% less propane over a month compared to a non-condensing model of similar size, according to the manufacturer's field data. That sounds modest, but when you multiply it by a winter season that runs for 6 months, the savings can add up to a few $100s, especially if you live in a region where propane prices hover around $3 per gallon. One practical strength that shows up in real-world usage is the on-demand temperature stability. When I ran the shower at 105 F and the dishwasher at 120 F simultaneously, the unit kept both outlets within a 2-degree band of their set points. That's a result of the internal modulating gas valve, which throttles the flame up or down rather than just flicking fully on or off. For families who hate the occasional lukewarm burst that can happen with lower-end tankless heaters, this modulation feels like a genuine upgrade. It also means the heater isn't constantly roaring at full capacity, which reduces wear on the gas valve and can extend the unit's lifespan. There are, however, hidden trade-offs you need to weigh. Because the system is designed to be installed indoors, you have to be diligent about ventilation. A poorly sized vent can cause backdrafting, which not only reduces efficiency, but also introduces carbon monoxide into the living space. The manufacturer recommends a dedicated vent that terminates outdoors with a sealed termination cap. If you live in a tight-fit apartment building or a condo where you can't modify the exterior wall, this unit becomes a non-starter. In such cases, a direct vent or outdoor-only model would be safer and simpler. Another practical weakness is the initial power draw. The TK340X3 PIH needs a 120-volt, 30-amp circuit to run its control board and the condensate pump. If your electrical panel is already maxed out, you'll have to upgrade, which adds another $200, $400 to the project. That's a cost that's easy to overlook when you're only focusing on the propane savings. Also, the unit produces condensate, essentially acidic water that must be routed to a drain. In a basement installation, you'll need a proper condensate pump or a sloped pipe. Otherwise, you risk corrosion in the vent line over time. Who should consider buying this heater? If you have a moderate to large household, rely on propane as your primary fuel, and have the flexibility to install a proper venting system, The Takagi TK340X3 PIH offers a blend of high output and lower emissions that makes it a solid long-term investment. It shines for homes where you regularly need simultaneous hot water draws. Think a family that showers in the morning, runs a dishwasher, and maybe fills a tub for the kids.